Like many of us, I'm tired of the pandemic and I want this thing to go away. And I need it to go away really soon because it's been almost 2 years since I've been on a plane. And anybody knows me knows that I travels and I can't go anywhere right now because of this pandemic. But I say all that to say that I am so happy to have joining me today, this beautiful woman. She is just amazing. She's a celebrity chief financial officer. She's a corporate strategist. She's an author. She's a mama. She's a wifey. She does it all. Miss Ingrid Levon.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Beyonce. I love it. I love it. And I'm with you. I am a traveler.
Yes.
I'm on the airplane as well, but I know that we have to keep it safe. And I don't want to do anything premature because the last thing we want is to have to go back to 12 months ago. So I'm all about waiting, but I'm ready to dip my toe in some sand and some water.
Okay, but let me brag on you just a little bit more before we get into what we're getting ready to get into. You were a corporate controller at a Fortune 100 company, managing up to 1 billion with a B. Let me say that again, $1 billion in top line revenue. And that was when you were in your 30s. I told y'all she's boss. She is a boss.
Not only that, $1 billion on the elevator. It's $1 billion on the elevator.
My goodness, you have worked with the likes of Kelly Price, Lil Mama, Yaz from Empire, and a bunch of other artists. You're also a finance executive for a global staffing firm. And you have been seen on Sister Circle, on WGN, NBC, featured at the Black Women's Expo here in Chicago, Essence Festival in New Orleans, the Ultimate Women's Expo. I mean, look, we'll put this away because we'll be here until next Tuesday talking about your accolades, and we don't have time for all of that. What we do have time for, though, is to get into what we can do. How, Ingrid, can we start over after this pandemic? There have been so many things that have just uprooted our lives as a result of coronavirus, COVID-19, and people are waiting for it to be over with. I know we have the vaccine out now. Yes. People just want it to be gone so we can get back to some form of normalcy. And some people want to flip the script. They don't want to go back to the way things were. They want to start something new. And that's where you come in. Tell us what we can do, how we can start over after this pandemic.
So, starting over has been, that's been my thing, right? So, and starting over is no different than when life happens. So starting over after a job loss, starting over after you've lost someone you love, and, over 500,000 lives lost plus during this pandemic, we've all been touched by that. So bereavement, starting over after that, starting over after a bad relationship, a divorce, and starting over after losing everything, after bankruptcy. So when you think about starting over, because it's a global pandemic, people put more stock into it, but it's really the same thought process. And the first thing you really have to do is acknowledge that it's okay to start over. Yeah. Like some people want to just kind of keep it moving. And what we've realized is during the pandemic is keeping it moving is not good for your health. Because stress has been taking people out. I've personally lost several people around me that was stress related. No apparent health reasons other than we would say natural causes, but we know that those natural causes happen inside your body. So keeping it moving and trying to ignore what's happening either in the news, because not only are we faced with a global pandemic, we're faced with an economic pandemic. Yes. And a highly racial intensive pandemic. And so as Black and brown people, we've had the perfect storm. So starting over is one thing that I think we are good at, even if we don't think we are, because we've gone through so much. But the first thing you really have to do is shift your mindset. You cannot go into your new life the old way. I mean, even basic things like how you interact with people, technology, how to make money. Making money is different today than it was 12 months ago. And believe it or not, I want to tell your listeners, folks are out there making money, because you go back and look at statistics, multiple stats show that millionaires are made during a global crisis.
Wow.
And that can be me, that can be you, right? So we're millionaires in the making, because we're going to not just sit back and let the pandemic happen to us. We're going to control as many factors as we want. So shifting your mindset and believing that it's going to be better, and two, I'm going to be different, is the first step. Like, I want to be better, I'm going to do better, and it can be better. And not being stuck in that woe is me, this happened to me, I lost my job. Okay, you lost your job. Let's make a strategy to get a new one.
Yeah.
You lost a loved one. Let's grieve, but grieve in a way that it allows you to move forward. And so shifting your mindset is paramount.
You know, many people have or are facing increased levels of alcohol and drug use as a result of the pandemic and all the stresses of the world. Insomnia at an all-time high, anxiety just through the roof. Some of us have even gained some COVID-19 pounds.
Let me tell you. COVID pounds are real.
When is that Peloton going on sale?
Let me tell you, the COVID pounds is not a fake story. That's not fake news. That is real.
Yeah.
But even when you think about all the things that has happened to us, I mean, you think about the parents that have completely shifted their schedule. And now they have children at home every day, 24 hours a day, learning in the next room, or in some instances, the same room, while you're trying to work. And so having to just deal with the stresses is tough. And so a part of starting over is acknowledging that this is not going to be easy. Everything that we've gone through, it was tough. Like, I don't even have, I would love to give you a 10-letter word to describe it. It was just horrible. It was tough on us as parents. It was tough on adults. It was tough on singles. It was tough on married couples. The divorce rate went up, and it was already 50%, but now they're saying that coming out of a pandemic, the divorce rate is going to go from 50 to 56%, because some people realized they couldn't live with the person they married. And so it's unfortunate, but the stresses of life pushes you to a place where you start to reevaluate and rethink who you are and who you want to be. And unfortunately, some people had to cope through alcohol and drugs, but many people, if you were look at additional statistics, they turned to nonprofits. People started giving more. People started connecting in a social way that they'd never done before. The dating sites, their statistics went up because people started doing more online dating, where it was more taboo and everyone wanted to go old school. I'm going to meet someone at the grocery store. Well, that's great, but now you can't go to the grocery store at will, or it wasn't as safe. And so life changed. And so it was time for us to change with that and figure out how to cope with all those tough things.
Well, let's get into these tips on how we can start over after the pandemic. Change your mind and shift your focus.
Yes. Change your mind, shift your focus, see things as you want them to be, not as they are today. And that's really manifesting those areas that you want to improve in, whether it's money, whether it's relationship. If you want to see X amount of money in the bank, you first have to believe that you can and see it. And the mind can propel you into places, good or bad, that you never thought you would be. And so we already know our mind can play tricks on us and tell us things that's not there. But how about if we start tricking our mind and telling our mind that things are there that we want to see? And then reconnecting with different social circles. This has been huge for me personally, because my time was already limited. And so I wasn't able to participate in different professional associations, other nonprofit organizations, because it was all in person. And so me being more stable, I was able to pipe in, and I've actually created relationships and built new friendships with people that I probably would not have done because I did not have the time to invest in those different circles because I was already invested in the ones that I knew about. And so you step out a little bit, go and join a professional organization that's going to feed not only your mind, but look, you know, I'm the money girl, feed your money. Get into these types of clubs and conversations that's going to help you build wealth and build a business and all those sorts of things. But the biggest tip I want to talk about is the SWOT analysis. And everybody was like, oh my God, Ingrid, you know, that's the traditional SWOT. I'm like, no, not the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's actually the strengths, weaknesses, assets. Because we forget about that. And I tell people, if you are thinking about being better, becoming a business owner or a serial entrepreneur, I believe in multiple streams of income. You got to have a day job, but you need to have a book. You got to sell something. You can drop ship. There's so many ways to create multiple streams of income. Knowing your strengths is pivotal. What are you good at? What do people tell you you're good at? What would you do if you weren't being paid? Now, I know we all want to be paid, but there are some things that we're so passionate about that we will just do because it's innate in us.
Oh, sure.
And so writing those things down and building opportunities around your strengths, I call that your superpower area. That's your superpower. And so my gift is numbers. I've been doing numbers since I was basically 6 years old. I realized it was a gift right around 10 when I was telling the babysitter how much money she was going to make because I was counting the different things. And she's like, why are you all in my business? And I'm like, I think you're going to make X. And, you know, and so my family realized like, okay, she's going to be a talker, but her thing is numbers. And then assets. So people are always looking at what they don't have. Look at what you do have. And the biggest is creating what do you own and who do you owe? What do you own? Do you own the rights to a song? Do you own the rights to a book? Do you own a patent to a secret sauce? Do you have a recipe to a cake that you won't tell? Like, what do you own? It doesn't always have to be monetary.
Okay.
You can own something that can be monetized into the monetary. And then what do you owe? Who do you owe? Now, you know, we all owe somebody something. We all owe. So, and most of us, if we're not currently in that situation, we've owed more than we've owned. Everybody's balance sheet. Now I'm mixing this in with business. Your balance sheet was not quite so balanced.
Right.
You had more liabilities than assets. And so when you look at reinventing yourself or going through the pandemic or starting over, you just want to try as best you can to own more than you owe. And what that simply means is making more and spending less. What a noble concept. What a noble concept, right? That's what we've been saying all along. Making more and spending less. And that way you can build up your assets and start to decrease or minimize your liabilities. And then the T is threats, and people think, oh, is that going to harm me? Sometimes threats are just simple trends. All of us jump on the bandwagon or certain styles or certain things, certain technology. You know, I don't know, 3 years ago, we weren't even talking about TikTok.
Right.
3 years ago, 2 years ago, we weren't talking about TikTok. And so in my financial world, that's a trend. It may be variations of it. It may evolve into something else. You know, it was, you know, before Facebook, it was MySpace. And so and I'm dating myself now, but there is an evolution. And so what happens is you want to identify the trends as a threat, but leverage it for the now. So if you do have a business and it's the hottest thing or the biggest way that you can reach a potential client or potential customer, get on, identify what that trend is, but don't put all your eggs in that trendy basket. Because as I mentioned, MySpace was Facebook. What is the next Facebook? And so you want to stay ahead as much as you can in that realm.
Talk about the whole starting a business aspect. If you have a full-time employment, you have a passion that could be generating additional income. You hit on that a little bit ago, but people want to know, okay, how do I start a business? I don't have money. What can I do? I know grants are being given right now as a result of the pandemic. So I guess what I'm saying is, instead of us taking that $1,400 stimulus check and going down to the Louis Vuitton store, we might can invest that $1,400 in something else. But baby, that bag looks so good right now.
Woo! And
what do you say to people like that?
Oh, look, let me tell you.
Guilty.
I mean, look, I have to have conversations with myself all the time. Like, am I going to walk it like I talk it, or am I going to do what I tell people not to do?
Yes.
And so that's a struggle. It's a struggle for everybody because we want nice things. But let me say this. With the stimulus money, and then I'm going to get to the business. With the stimulus money, I do believe in rewarding yourself. And let me say this. That doesn't mean splurge. That doesn't mean go buy something you would not normally be able to afford. That means simply rewarding yourself for the fact that you are still living, the fact that you made it through a global pandemic, that your kids are still healthy, that your house is still whole, that you're still able to eat, sleep, breathe, move. Like, reward yourself for just being, because we don't do that enough. We're always looking at what we don't have and what we can't do, but reward yourself for saying, hey, I made it. I did the best I could with what I had. And I'm going to reward myself with a massage, with nail care or whatever, not the Louis Vuitton bag. I am not promoting that. Okay. And as a part of that, you want to take some of that stimulus money for those of you all that have not spent it all, because I know some of you all got it. It is gone the next day. But if you happen to still have a little bit of it left, you do take some of it and use it as seed money to start a business. And let me tell you, you can start a viable profit generating business with less than $200, literally. Because here's the thing, we all have something that we're good at. We all are getting paid on a day job to do something. And if you've been on that job for more than 5 years, guess what? You're an asset. That means that you're doing something right. And so if you happen to love your job, like I've always loved what I've done, and my passion happened to cross intersect with my gift. And so it was kind of seamless for me to take my corporate finance experience and leverage it into the small business space. I went where people needed me. Small businesses, gig workers, people with less than 20 employees, they don't have the benefit or the resources to hire a chief financial officer. So it was just natural for me to go into a space that I could leverage my experience, but also teach them the numbers that the big people or the big boxes are talking about. So take a little bit of that money and invest in yourself. Even if it's just a class, start with, if you like to take pictures, if you're always taking selfies, turn that selfie around and take a photography class. And it's just different things like that. Leveraging your experience. We're all experienced in something. I mean, I've had clients where they've been in HR and they never even thought about it. They were like, oh, I've been in HR for 22 years. Well, how many policies and procedures have you written? And now today is the day where people are looking for certain skill sets and talents to grow their business, unlike they were 5 years ago. And so you, again, going back to your strengths and say, I can charge for this. You're asking me for advice that I'm doing for free. Let me monetize it. Let me spend $12 a month and get a website with one of these, landing places. Let me go and get a logo done on Fiverr. I love Fiverr, guys, because you can get a logo for $5.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just different small things that you can do to start a business right now with little setup. Drop shipping is kind of like the trendy thing now, where you're partnering in the e-commerce world because people want what they want right now. And so if you get into that arena, the e-commerce world, that's very low investment because basically people are paying and buying the product before you pay and buy the product. Right. And so you're able to get things in their hand. You put your profit on top. Of course, I can teach you how to do that because look, I don't sell anything without me getting paid first. And that is why businesses fail, because they're like, well, I didn't pay myself. And I'm thinking, why not? If you priced your product, my price is in my price. And so I'm going to get paid first and then making sure that I can cover the spread. And the spread is the expenses, the cost of goods sold, how much it takes for you to run a business. But you can absolutely start. And I say starting now, because let me tell you, people are waiting for something new. our mindsets have shifted. We're looking for something different. I'm not a creator. I'm an analyzer. And so I'm often in the marketplace just looking for something different because that's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking at different ways of doing things, looking at, more effective ways to do. I'm looking for somebody to start a summer camp out their house right now because I have a 10-year-old that needs to go somewhere when school is out. So all of those things where if you're in childcare, so for your listeners that are in childcare, camps, I just gave you a business. You better start a camp. And so it's just so many different ways. And the key is to really get around people and networks that can feed you that information and that strategy, and just do it. Stop being scared. The pandemic scared me enough. I'm not operating in fear anymore. Whatever seems right, whatever seems logical, whatever, for me is fact-based. I need to see the numbers, but whatever that looks like, you just have to do it, and you have to want to do it.
And finally, talk about finding ways to give back.
I align the way that I give back with the people that I want to change or serve. I'm in the service business. When people say, oh, celebrity CFO, my entire life, my success has always been connected to someone else's success. Even early on in my career, I didn't get paid until the deal was profitable or until somebody else did something. And so I kind of grew up in that world. So me giving back aligns with the people that need it the most. So my business particularly serve underserved, not just communities, but businesses that have lack of resources, lack of profit, lack of access, lack of acknowledgement. It's lack. What do you want to give? And who do you want to serve? And who do you want to help? And there's so many ways. The giving portion has, I think the statistics show that it increased, almost 20% year over year. You would think that because people didn't have, that they weren't giving. And that's actually quite the opposite. People gave more during the pandemic because we realized that the world was bigger than ourselves. That there were other people that were in positions worse than us. And so if you have a passion, or if you identify with a community or a segment of people or process that you want to change, then do that. If it's entertainment and you want to bring entertainment in a new way, look at Versus. Versus started out being just something on IG Live that they came up with, and they pit two people against each other. Both of them are great. And now look at it.
Look at it.
And that started as a give back. They weren't making money off of that. The talent was doing it at no cost. The technology was pretty much at no cost. Now, maybe the personal investment was there with the setup, but for the most part, they wanted to give. Look at D Nice. He just got on and started playing music that he's been doing for his entire life for free. He did it for free. And so I go back to saying, what would you do if nobody paid you? And that is where you give, but that's also where you're going to receive.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all this great information. Starting over after the pandemic, CFO, corporate strategist, celebrity lady, everybody loves you in the industry, everybody. And you're just amazing. And author, so much. Thank you for the tips. I'm going to take what you said to heart, knowing that I can now start a business for less than $200.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
Staying out those stores, stores and all of that.
You got to stay out the stores.
Definitely.
Well, I appreciate you, your platform, what you're doing. We love you. Your listeners love you. We love your show. And you just keep doing what you're doing, because we can't wait until you can get back out there in those concert streets, because we miss you.
Oh, I miss you too. Thank you so much, Ingrid Woolfolk. Thank you for joining me today. And great information. Love it.